There is a particular weight that settles into the mind. Not the weight of forgetting, though that comes too, but something more subtle, more insidious. The weight of thoughts that circle endlessly like birds unable to find a place to land. You sit in the chair that has molded itself to your body over the years, and your mind begins its familiar routine. Did I say the right thing at dinner? Should I have handled that conversation with my daughter differently? What if the medical test brings bad news? What will happen when I can no longer drive? The questions multiply, branch into other questions, and before you know it, an hour has passed and you are exhausted from doing nothing but thinking. This is overthinking. And it is perhaps the most common form of suffering among older adults. Not the dramatic suffering of loss or illness, though those are real, but the quiet grinding suffering of a mind that will not rest. Through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, we begin to understand that this overthinking is not a flaw in your character, not a sign of weakness or aging decline, but a very human response to the nature of existence itself. The Buddha taught that the mind left untended is like a wild monkey swinging from branch to branch, never still, always grasping, and in later life, when the external world slows down but the internal world does not, this wild monkey finds more time to create chaos. Yet there is one question, simple and profound, that can interrupt this cycle, a question that has been at the heart of Buddhist practice for thousands of years, refined in meditation halls and mountain retreats, tested by countless practitioners who discovered that peace is not the absence of thoughts but a different relationship with them. The question is this: is this thought useful right now? These 6 words contain a complete practice, a way of relating to your mind that transforms overthinking from a prison into a weather pattern you can observe without being swept away. When work falls away and the structure of decades dissolves, the mind that was trained to analyze and solve problems finds itself without clear problems to solve. So it begins creating them. It replays conversations from 20 years ago, worries about scenarios that may never occur, becomes a problem-solving machine running on empty. Neuroscience confirms that while processing speed declines with age, the default mode network responsible for self-referential thinking often becomes more active in older adults, and the frontal lobes that filter thoughts work less efficiently. Yet Buddhism offers the remedy. Thoughts are not facts, they are events, they arise and pass away, and suffering comes from our relationship with them. The brain becomes too good at generating internal narratives, and the older mind, skilled at sustained attention, sometimes aims that attention inward in ways that produce not solutions but more noise. In meditation halls, teachers say thoughts are like weather patterns moving across the vast sky of awareness. Some days bring storms, others gentle rain. Some days the sky is clear, but the sky itself is never damaged by the weather. You can observe this directly right now. Notice that you can watch thoughts appear and disappear. There is a witnessing awareness, what the Buddha called samasati, right mindfulness, that knows what is happening without getting lost in it. When you are lost in thought, you are the storm. But when mindfulness arises, you become the sky. Naming a thought creates distance. Research shows that labeling reduces activity in the brain's fear center and increases activity in the region associated with awareness. You do not need to solve the thought, only to see it as a thought, like watching a leaf float down a stream without reaching out to hold it. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh suggested silently, breathing in with the recognition, I know this is just a thought, and breathing out with I let it go, a gentle acknowledgement that loosens the grip of even the most persistent memory or fear. The question, is this thought useful, right? Now cuts through rumination by giving the mind a clear criterion. Lying in bed replaying an old argument, you recognize that the quarrel is long resolved. The thought serves no purpose, and it loses its grip. Not because you judged it bad, but because you saw clearly that it does not serve you. Some thoughts are useful, others are weather, and discernment is the heart of wisdom. 90% of overthinking falls into predictable loops. Regret about the past, anxiety about the future, self-judgment, comparison to others or to a younger self, worry over things beyond control. Each can be interrupted by the same question. Each no can be followed by a return to the present, to the breath, to the body, to the sky. The beauty of the question is that it does not ask you to stop thinking, only to notice whether the thinking is skillful, whether it prepares, protects, or understands, or whether it simply drains. Aging itself can become a form of spiritual practice. As external concerns quiet, the mind naturally reviews life, searching for meaning, trying to integrate experience into a coherent story, a developmental task called ego integrity versus despair. The difference between reflection and rumination is subtle. Reflection leads to insight, rumination spins in circles. Slower processing can make thoughts feel stickier, but the weight is not the thought, it is our clinging to it. Equanimity, the capacity to let experiences arise and pass without grasping, is trained each time you ask, is this useful? And neuroplasticity continues throughout life. So every interruption of an old pattern literally rewires the brain. Studies of older meditators show reduced activity in the default mode network, stronger connections in regions that regulate attention and emotion, even increased gray matter density, proof that you are not too old to change, that the mind you have today can still learn the art of resting. What would your life be like if you spent even 20% less time overthinking? Perhaps more presence with loved ones, more enjoyment of simple pleasures, more energy for what matters, more peace. Choose one part of the day. Notice the circling mind, label the thought, ask the question, return to the breath. Do it once and you have succeeded. Do it 100 times and you have changed your brain. Thoughts still come, but they have less power. The spaces between them widen, you trust the present moment. You realize that this moment, just as it is enough. The silence you have been seeking has been here all along, waiting beneath the noise. And every time you choose the sky over the storm, you taste the freedom that no amount of analysis can provide. Start tomorrow morning. While the kettle hums, sit for 3 minutes. Feel the warmth of the cup in your palms. Notice the breath at the tip of the nose. When the mind drifts to the doctor's appointment next week, label it future. Ask, is this useful right now? And feel the cool inhale, the warmer exhale. That is 1 rep. Later, while waiting for the traffic light, instead of rehearsing the phone call you dread, feel the weight of your body in the seat, the texture of the steering wheel. Hear the faint click of the indicator. Label, question, return. Each repetition is a tiny rewiring, a vote for a new default. Over weeks, the old grooves smooth out, the new ones deepen, and the mind learns that its job is not to solve the weather, but to notice the sky that holds it. Expand this gentle diligence into the evening. As you brush your teeth, feel the bristles against each tooth. Hear the small rhythmic sound, and when the mind leaps to tomorrow's grocery list, smile at the monkey, label it planning, ask the question, and come back to the taste of mint and the sensation of water. In bed, when the lights are off and the same old regret about the move you never made arrives like a familiar creak in the floorboards, place 1 hand on the heart, 1 on the belly, feel the lift and fall, and remind yourself sky, not weather. The thought may visit 100 more nights, but each time it is met with the same quiet curiosity. Its edges soften, its volume lowers, and eventually it becomes just 1 more night sound that no longer pulls you from rest. Invite your body into the practice. Overthinking lives in the head. Presence lives in the body. When the carousel starts, drop attention to the soles of the feet. Feel socks inside shoes, the subtle sway of balance, the pulse in the heels. Move it slowly upward. Calves, knees, thighs, hips, lower back, spine, shoulders, fingertips, elbows, neck, scalp, face. Spend 3 seconds on each region asking, what is alive here? You will discover sensations that were drowned by the noise upstairs. A faint warmth in the knees, a tiny tremor in the hands, the coolness of air on the upper lip. By the time you reach the crown, the storm has often passed or at least diminished into background drizzle. This body scan can be done seated, standing, or lying down. It requires no app, no cushion, no special room, only the willingness to inhabit the flesh you have lived in all these years and have, perhaps largely ignored unless it hurt. Share the practice with someone you love. Once a week, over coffee or a short walk, take turns speaking aloud the loop that most often hijacks you. Do not story it, just name it. I am on the hamster wheel about money, or I am replaying the mistake I made at the wedding. The listener says nothing except, thank you for showing me the weather. Speaking, the pattern out loud externalizes it, makes it less personal, sometimes even absurd. You hear your own repetition and the heart softens. Then switch roles. This simple ritual, done regularly, weaves a shared sky between two people. A place where both storms can rise and dissolve without either person being consumed. It also normalizes the struggle. You discover that the most cheerful friend harbors the same spinning reels, merely with different scenery. Keep a tiny notebook in the kitchen drawer. When you catch a loop mid-spin, jot the date and one-line label. 9:15, worry about roof. Close the book, return to the dishes. At the end of the month, read the list aloud to yourself. You will see how few original scripts you own. The same 5 or 6 return like tired actors in a provincial repertory company. Seeing the repetition on paper often provokes laughter. And laughter is the sound of distance opening up. The next time that worry knocks, you can greet it with a smile. Ah, you again. Tuesday's roof monologue. Recognition without rehearsal is often enough to send it away sooner. Once each season, give yourself a half day of silence. No phone, no radio, no conversation. Walk slowly around the neighborhood or sit in the park and practice receiving sounds, smells, colors without commentary. When the mind begins its editorial, that child should be wearing a coat. They never trim those bushes. Label it opinion, and come back to the bare sense. By lunchtime you may feel emptied out, a little raw, as if the inner lining has been washed and hung in sun. This is not boredom. It is the texture of presence returning. Eat something simple, drink water. Notice texture and temperature as if for the first time. Return home lighter, carrying the memory that spaciousness is accessible anywhere, anytime, and does not depend on perfect health, perfect circumstances, or perfect mood. Remember that the aim is not to become a serene statue who never thinks. Useful thinking still has its place. Planning a grandchild's visit, organizing medications, writing a letter to the editor, choosing the right moment for apology. The practice simply installs a gentle gatekeeper who asks, does this serve life right now? If the answer is yes, think away with clarity and purpose. If the answer is no, you are free to step outside and feel the actual breeze on your actual face. Over the years, this gatekeeper becomes a trusted friend, not a harsh censor. And you discover that most of what you believed was urgent problem solving was merely habit energy, looking for a job. One final image to carry. You are sitting on a riverbank. Each thought is a paper boat you folded in childhood. Some boats carry sweet memories, some carry frightening headlines, some are blank. The current is steady. Every boat eventually drifts out of sight. Your only task is to notice the color of the paper, the creases you once made, and then to let the water carry it on. The boats will keep coming, thousands, tens of thousands, but the river never fills up. The river is your life, the sky above it your awareness, and you are already both. Nothing to fix, nothing to figure out. Only the gentle practice of watching paper boats until even the watcher is revealed as another fold of water and sky. In that revelation, overthinking loses its last foothold, and what remains is the quiet joy of being the river, being the sky, being the paper and the fold and the current all at once, right here, right now, useful or not.